Last week was a crazy week and weather played a role in many games. We'll debrief all of that and get you ready for week 9 with a full cash and GPP lineup coming up next. Hello everyone, I'm Michael Kurtzman.
And I'm Eric Lee. We are the Fantasy Football Consultants. Michael, week 8 was a strange one. Let's get right to it. Let's talk about our cash and GPP lineup. Our cash lineup scored 116 points. You can see Gio Bernard, Keenan Allen, and Tyreek Hill all did great. It was the San Francisco connection of Jimmy Garoppolo and Kittle who absolutely killed us because they both got injured very early in the third quarter. In fact, Nick Mullins, who came in for Garoppolo, 238 yards, 2 TDs. Man, could we have used those statistics. Michael, I mean, you can't predict injuries, but when they happen, it's such a killer when you're doing daily fantasy.
Yeah, and I can think of a couple other times when this happened. Deontay Johnson back in like week 6. He got injured on like the first drive or something like that. But yeah, as a 49ers fan, I feel the pain is because Jimmy G is now out again for 4 to 6 weeks, more likely 6, and Kittle's out for the year.
For GPP, our lineup was not good enough, scoring only 117 points. Sure, Devontae Adams was outstanding, but Kareem Hunt, he was a disappointment both in our cash and GPP lineup. We thought with the weather that you talked about that Cleveland would rely more on the ground. They did. They ground more on the ground, but they didn't score a touchdown, the Browns, the entire game. So Hunt was a disappointment. And, I think AJ Green went, as a magician for Halloween because he just
played a trick on us.
Yeah, he did a disappearing act. Definitely disappointing. Let's talk about some success stories out there from our viewers. We've been doing this contest every week from the beginning of the season. We have our last set of qualifiers. So congratulations to Rick Williams, Frank Cutlass, and one of my favorite viewers who actually won one of the contests last year, qualified and won. Young Jack 323 is back in it this year. Michael?
Congratulations, guys. Really great job to everyone who qualified and everyone who participated, and we look forward to versing you guys head on.
Yes, Michael and I will take on the qualifiers. You should have already received in your DraftKings account an invite to join our free league. You can practice in week 9. Enter a lineup in. I want to be very clear. Week 9 is practice. No payout. So if you finish first, you're not getting paid out for week 9. But it just makes sure that you are registered and you're ready to go for week 10. Because in week 10, this is not a lot of people competing. Less than 30 people are going to be competing. If you can finish number 1, you win $50. Next week, we'll do it. The week 11, we'll do it all over again. And the first finisher will win $50. If you're listening to this and go, hey, I didn't qualify, what's the deal? How can I get in on the fun? Well, the contest is over for DraftKings, but you can go to our other videos on FanDuel. We're still taking qualifiers for that FanDuel contest, and your odds on FanDuel is even better because we will cap the qualifiers at 20 people. So there we go. So, Michael, as frustrating as those injuries were in week 8, let's get into week 9. I can't wait.
All right, guys. So as we enter into the studio, Eric, what position we always like to go first with, and that is running backs. And for our running back number 1, we decided to go with Dalvin Cook. I know he's a bit pricey, but he can really pay back his worth in every way. Detroit ranks 32nd in fantasy points against running backs. He averages 23 touches a game, and he is the centerpiece of their offense. Minnesota is a run-oriented team. They're not a pass-oriented team like they were last year. They are now run-oriented. And against Green Bay, had 30 attempts for 163 yards. That's incredible. And against a Detroit defense that is not stymie against anything, I have the confidence in the world that Dalvin Cook will have a good game.
No, can't agree more, Michael. Dalvin Cook is the real deal. Checks all the boxes. Home running back that's favored. Love his implied total this week. 28 points. He's always going to get a lot of touches, as you mentioned, in a great matchup. I am sold. We got Dalvin Cook in our lineup. The only problem with Dalvin Cook is how expensive he is. So I am going to make an effort to save money. So look how long it takes me to scroll down, Michael.
Sometimes you have to pay for the best.
So it's DJ Dallas from my Seattle Seahawks. So I think in dealing with this, I think what would be really good is to actually click on the Seattle team and see what's going on, because they have been hit with a ton of injuries. So look at the alphabet soup among the running backs. That is the Seattle Seahawks. Carlos Hyde's definitely not going to play, and Rashard Penny has long been injured. What you need to do is you need to follow the news on Chris Carson and Travis Homer. If Chris Carson is out, you can pretty much be assured that DJ Dallas is going to play a significant role. So it's just something that we got to monitor the news. Right now, we're going to plug him into our lineup. But if Carson is out and Homer is again hobbled, we have a guy who's going to be the featured back, the goal line back, who's going to get included in the passing game against a Buffalo team that does a much better job against the pass than they do against the run. And we see how much activity he got last week, all for $5,000. Love this pick as long as his competition is on the sideline.
Yeah, I could not agree more. But going on the opposite direction, on the opposite team for the wide receivers, for wide receiver number 1, we are going to go with STEFON Diggs for $7,400. STEFON Diggs is by far and away one of the best receivers in football right now. Paired with Josh Allen is just a really great combo. He's averaging 10 targets a game with 7 catches. That alone is 7 points right there. Seattle ranks 32nd against wide receivers. They can stop the run pretty decently well, but their passing defense is so terrible. This game is going to be a shootout with 2 high-powered offenses going at it against some not the best defenses, especially on Seattle's end.
Yeah, that was nice of you to respect my Seahawks and say, not the best pass defense. You're very kind. Dead last we are. Why? We don't put pressure on the quarterback, and we don't do a good job covering guys. Other than that, our pass defense is pretty good. Before you can decide to pick him, I'm picking Deontay Johnson. Again, I want you to notice the trend. Once again, I'm scrolling way down. It is not often that you can get a guy who at times has proven he's the number 1 wide receiver on an offense that's playing the worst defense in all of football. That's not just hyperbole. The Dallas Cowboys have given up more points per game than anyone. That's more than Jacksonville. That's more than the New York Jets. I mean, it's pretty amazing. The issue with Johnson has always been, can the guy freaking stay healthy? It's like he's gotten hurt at one point or another in all the games, right? So let's hope that maybe he was a little hobbled last week. Very disappointing performance. But you see in the other 3 games, 3 of the 4 games in which he actually completed the game and played, look, 15 targets, 13 targets, 10 targets. For $5,000 in a terrific matchup, he's an absolute steal.
All right. And for wide receiver 3, we're going to go with Marvin Jones Jr. Kenny GOLLADAY will likely be out, meaning that Marvin Jones Jr. is next in line. He is the next best receiver on a Detroit team that has Matthew Stafford and not that great of a run game. Trust me, I'm a My mom's a Lions fan. I know. When you have a wide receiver that is Matthew Stafford's now favorite target, you're guaranteed to get a lot of targets. With Golladay injured over the past 2 games, he has averaged seven. Well, the first game Golladay was kind of a little hobbled. He averaged 7 targets a game with 4 catches.
Yeah, just a terrible pass defense that the Vikings. So let's move to tight end. Tight end is going to be Hayden Hurst. I really, we're over halfway through the season. So when we have guys that change teams in the offseason, we now have a pretty good idea what role that they are playing. And I thought that he would play a significant role given the big role that tight ends normally play in this offense. But proof is positive, he has. And once again, he's in a pretty good matchup. He's a home favorite tight end with an implied total of 26.5. And I love, the most important thing with the tight end is you want to see consistent targets. And that is what Hayden Hurst has provided you. And it has only been more so as the season goes along, as he develops a rapport with Matt Ryan. Michael, what are we going to do at flex?
Well, I'm going to go with Chase Edmonds. Kenyon Drake will be out for this game, and that means that Chase Edmonds takes down as the goal line back, the receiving back, the every down back. He will basically be on the field about 95% of the downs. Miami is 21st against the rush and 25th against the pass. And last game when they played the Seahawks, he had 7 targets for 7 receptions. For a running back, that's incredible. You could not ask for a better receiving day than that, and to cope with 87 yards. I have no doubt now that Kenyon Drake is out, the Chase Edmonds rushing attempts will go up, since there is no one else to give him competition. And for $6,800, I feel that Chase Edmonds versus Miami is a very good pick.
Yeah, I really like the fact that the Arizona Cardinals are coming off a bye, so they've had plenty of time to make sure he's fully woven into the offense as the new starting running back. They host a Miami team that has to cross the country. I think Arizona is going to do well. I love the fact that Chase Edmonds, even with Kenyon Drake, is heavily involved in the passing game. And we're on DraftKings with a full PPR, so love the pick.
Yeah, and
how about quarterback? We can see that, well, I don't want to name names, but because of you and your Chase Edmonds, Stephon Diggs, and Dalvin Cook picks, we don't have a lot of money left, a total of $8,400 on a defense and a quarterback. So you got to be economical with the QB. Where are you going?
Well, I'm going to go with Drew Lock for $5,200. See, look at me. I'm already saving money, being economical. Atlanta is 31st against the pass. They have been the entire year terrible against the pass. Like, it's incredible. Last week against the Chargers, he threw the ball 41 times. Now, they were down against a very pretty good Chargers team, but he still threw the ball 41 times for 26 completions for 3 touchdowns. Now that he's versing not as stingy of a pass defense, and he's versing the Atlanta pass defense, I have a feeling that he can really start to show his incredible upside while still maintaining a relatively high floor for $5,200. And the middle and the mid-priced QBs have the greatest chance to deliver the best value.
That's certainly true. Unfortunately, the last few weeks we have saved money on QBs. They have not done well, but not always our fault. Like I said, last week with Garoppolo, he just got injured. But you know what? Can I go out on a limb? I'm going to say your QB pick, Michael, is a lock.
Wow.
Oh boy. All right. Let's let that settle. All right. So on defense, you've left me $3,200. I appreciate that. I at least have some options here. And I'm actually not going to spend that entire amount. I am going to select the Arizona Cardinals. I kind of talked about it when we talked about Chase Edmonds. Arizona's at home. Arizona is facing a Miami team that is having to go cross country. And remember, you're seeing some of these statistics. These statistics weren't good before with Ryan Fitzpatrick as their quarterback, looking at Miami. Well, guess what? They've moved on to Tua. I think there's a lot of question marks on Tua. In his debut, the Dolphins got a pick six and defense, and they got a special teams touchdown, and they got a turnover like with inside the 5. Made things really easy. They didn't ask him to do anything. It was only 12 passes for 22 yards, 12 passes in 22 attempts for 93 yards. So what is he going to do, he being Tua, when the Cardinals actually put some pressure on him? And you can see that over the season, they have gotten in 5 of 7 games, 3 or more sacks. That's pretty impressive. I really think there's a possibility here to get some turnovers, get some sacks. Maybe even we'll get lucky and get a pick six, all in a situation for a reasonable price, $2,900. That is our cash lineup. Locke, Cook, Dallas, Diggs, Johnson, Jones Jr., Hurst, Edmonds, and the Arizona Cardinals.
All right, folks, welcome to the GPP portion of the video. And Eric, what made us go with the Seattle at Buffalo stack?
Yeah, so we love attacking stacked and high scoring games. By far, the highest scoring game is the Buffalo-Seattle game, 55 over under. We're attacking that league worst pass defense of Seattle with Josh Allen to Stefon Diggs. We already talked about why we like Stefon Diggs. Josh Allen, man, he can do it in the air and on the ground in a high-scoring game. Super excited about that. And then coming back, we're utilizing Tyler Lockett. We all know Tyler Lockett's ceiling. He's had a couple of games where he's gone completely off. And against Buffalo, Tyler Lockett will be in the slot. So he's almost certain to avoid Tre'Davious White, their best cornerback, who will probably be on DK Metcalf. So I think this is going to be a Lockett game, Michael.
Yeah, and if you guys remember back to when Lockett had the incredible 49-point fantasy week, that was because Patrick Peterson was guarding DK Metcalf the entire game. And when DK Metcalf versus the shutdown receiver, all right, and now taking it to running back, we have David Johnson for Houston at Jacksonville.
So I would like to talk about David Johnson and Justin Jackson together, because I like these two guys because they have a high ceiling. Why do I say that? Why do I say that I believe they have a high ceiling? Well, just look at the implied total. Jackson's implied total is 27 and Johnson's is 28.5. And it's a contest between the two of them, Michael, is who's playing the worst pass defense, a run defense. Jacksonville and the Raiders both have weak rush defenses. If we can get the game script right, and Houston and the Chargers are favored here, I think we can have really big games with Houston and the Chargers running the ball a lot to salt that game away.
And it especially bodes well that they're so cheap, so that it's like you have such a high ceiling at such a low price.
Yep.
All right, and taking it back, we have Justin Jefferson of the Minnesota Vikings.
I really like Justin Jefferson for GPP. We were properly avoiding him when in the big win game last week because he relies so heavily on high air yards. But look, folks, they're in a dome. There's no wind to be concerned here when they're at home against Detroit. And
for tight end, we went with Darren Waller going back on the opposite side of the Las Vegas at Los Angeles Chargers game.
Yeah, Darren Waller is another person. He's way too cheap on DraftKings. Again, that Cleveland Vegas game, the Raiders played really conservative in the win. No win issues this time in LA. I know that the Raiders are going to continue to use Waller as a huge part of their offense, and he just has a tremendous ceiling.
All right, and in our flex position, we have Matt Breida of the Miami Dolphins versus Arizona.
Yeah, this is a follow the news type story. Myles Gaskin is absolutely out for this game. If you look at the last 3 weeks, the only running back to get running back carries other than Gaskin is Matt Breida. So one would think that he should be the primary running back here. But in fairness, you got to understand that they signed DeAndre Washington. They still think, I think they still have the corpse of Jordan Howard on the team. But we will follow the news. But unless, if I have no problem in a GPP to put in Matt Breida, in the fact that if he is the lead back, and I think he will be, he's got a pretty good ceiling at a bargain basement $4,000 price. This price was set before it was known that Gaskin would be out.
All very, very fair points you can determine from Matt Breida. And we have the Vikings defense versus Detroit at the low price of $2,400.
Home favorite defense that's pretty cheap, facing a Detroit team that likely won't have their best weapon, Kenny GOLLADAY. There you go.
Yeah. All right, this concludes our GPP lineup. And on a personal note, we want to talk about our affiliate Draft Dashboard. Now, Draft Dashboard is the one-stop place for all your fantasy needs. They do all sports, basketball, football, baseball, basically most sports that you can imagine. And they're super reliable and great, and it's a great site. You can see DraftKings and FanDuel. And if you use our affiliate link in the comment section down below, you can get a 1-month trial for the low price of $1. And I highly suggest that you guys check it out.
Yeah, it's in the description section. Go ahead if you are interested and or you want to just help support our channel. That would be greatly appreciated. But what I think the real value is, I love this dashboard, Michael. I love going to here and go, okay, here's the changes. This is the recent changes. Who's getting injured? Who's going up the depth chart? Who is going down the depth chart? And I always like, especially in GPP, to get kind of an understanding of, hey, who are the guys that are really the top owned players out there? Who's the field going with? And when we're constructing a lineup, and I don't want to name names, but if you have a partner who happens to spend all of your money on other picks that are really expensive, I love going to the sleepers and studs on DraftKings. It'll say, here are all the guys that are under $5,000 that they particularly recommend. As you see, top of the list was one of the guys that we selected, Deontay Johnson. A guy that I selected in the GPP was Justin Jackson. This is just one of the many features that Draft Dashboard has. And both Michael and I really like it in preparation. I think the real value of what it does is that it reduces your actual research time, because it gets a lot of the information where you'd have to go to many different sites to get. For example, like implied total, a lot of the stuff that we talk about, we're able to get directly from Draft Dashboard. We want to thank all of you guys for continuing to watch our content and engaging with us in the discussion forums. Our contest is over, but please continue to write comments in the comment section who you like this week on DraftKings with DraftKings prices, who's at a good bargain, and who you would suggest to select. Until we see you next time, take care, everybody. Be safe. See you later.
Have a great day.